you've got to just create like a nice environment as well. It's not just about the hourly rate, you've got to give the staff something more than just an hourly rate and off you go to work. There's so many schemes that perhaps you should be doing and just naturally making the world a nicer place to be. Just little things like, on a Friday, for example, at 4:30, 4:45, we'll say to the boys, lads, here's a beer. If so we can brush in your hand and a beer, and off you go. And they're loving it, little things like that, just the one, off a little bottle of something, whatever it may be. No one minds sweeping up when you've got a beer in you, do you? It's a rule, especially when you've had a hard week at it, so little tiny things like that, nights out, and just generally just making sure that the atmosphere is good and the morale's high. If you get that right, they won't move for 50 or a pound extra an hour, they'll stick with you.
Hello and welcome to episode 30 of DealerPod, the podcast where we talk to motor trade industry experts nationwide to find out about their businesses and gain any insights that they may have to help you with your car sales operation. My name is Stephen Douglas and I'm joined as always by Scott Sibley and Martin Carr. And today's podcast is sponsored by Dealerway, the UK's fastest growing platform for motor dealers to trade safely and transparently. Now, before we get going, just one small ask from you. We spend a lot of time creating each episode to make it valuable for people like you. And if you're watching on YouTube, it would mean the world to us if you could hit the like button and subscribe. It just takes 2 seconds of your time, but it helps us more than you think and keeps us going week after week. All right, let's get into it. So today's guest is the owner of Angus MacKinnon, based in Staffordshire. I'd like to welcome to the podcast Mr. Stuart MacKinnan. Hi, Stuart. How's it going, mate? How's the job?
Very well, Steve. How are you? Very good. Thank you very much for having me on. It's a great pleasure.
Nice, Stuart.
Welcome.
Yeah, good stuff. You just asked there, how am I? I'll be honest with you, Stuart, I'm not doing too good. Martin's laughing because he knows what's coming here.
Killed him.
Why? For the last week or so, Martin and Lee from the office have been going on a little health kick and a little walk around. There's some deals at the back of our offices here. And so they were going out today, and I went, "Where are you going?" I says, "Are you going on one of your little funny little walks together?" And they says, "Yeah." I goes, "Come on, I'll come with you. How long does it take?" "Oh, about half an hour." So obviously I picked the day for it because it's absolutely roasting outside. I live a sedentary lifestyle, Stuart, so I don't get much exercise. Obviously these two are like power walkers, and I've come back. They're dressing shorts. I've got jeans on. I'm not in the attire for it. I'm dripping in sweat. I'm boiling, knackered. So, but yeah, other than that, I'm great, Stuart. So thanks for asking.
And where you're supposed to do 10,000 steps a day, Steve normally does 10.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I've done a few more than 10 this morning.
But how do you feel, Stephen? Do you feel better?
Are
you going to go again?
I feel exhilarated.
I said, "Are you coming again?" He went, "I'll let you know.
I'll get back to you on that."
Imagine if you walk into his office and he's there and he's doing a few press-ups.
That'll be the day.
Right. So I think we'll get into it then. So Stuart, can you tell the DealerPod audience a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got to where you are today, and a little bit about your business as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, obviously we're, I guess you could almost sort of say to some extent I was sort of born into the motor trade, really, to be fair. Obviously Angus is me obviously late father, he established a business, so we're saying the mid-1970s, so in 1975, whereby he obviously started this, operating really from a small rented workshop, should we say, just up on village just only a mile away from here called Dubridge. 5-6 years later, acquired premises in Autotrader town, and just really from that point steadily growing the business, and then obviously we acquired further premises, and then I sort of came onto the scene probably when I left school at 16. So I'm at 47 now, so if you do the maths, you sort of realise that I'm about 31 years in the business now. And that was really in about 2000 when we sort of really managed to grow the business, whereby we bought the premises that we're operating from now, which is used to be an ex dealership, which was Ford and Vauxhall and Isuzu. Unfortunately, I went to a sort of receivership, and at the time for us it was what was right for the business, and that was when we moved our sort of from Autotrader town centre more into this main road sort of location that we're at now. So the site at the minute now is probably about 1.25 acre, and it's got a real good frontage. I think the frontage is about just 130 meters in length against that roadside there. So yeah, it gives us a real good opportunity. It's a busy sort of road really into Uttoxeter area, you know. So we're sort of so we're sort of operating the sales operation from there now, the used car operation. Obviously we're a Bosch car service centre, I think, obviously a bit like yourself there, Scott. And yeah, we just and then obviously we've in recent times, more recently, we about 6 years ago, I set this vehicle preparation centre up, which was off site, about a 7,000 square foot facility just to prep the cars, as it were, prior to obviously them going on sale. We sort of that was working okay for the business, but it was a bit of a the logistics of it being out of the way was causing a delay. So we sort of because the body shop operation was here on on the Derby Road site was doing quite well, and we were just bursting at the seams. So about sort of 6 months ago, I managed to 12 months or so, 18 months ago, acquired extra premises, and we've just recently, about 6 months ago, moved the body shop operation over into a standalone facility, which is and that's enabled us to bring the vehicle preparation back on site, which has really helped the business, you know.
So is the workshop preparation, has that moved into what was the body shop?
Yeah, that's right, Scott. Yeah, so it's just about 4,000 square foot facility. There's 2 paint booths, but we're only really using the one now. So we're going to do something with that space. Thinking about like a photo booth, to get rid of the to sort of aid and sort of speed up that sort of prep process, really. So and yeah, so because the body shop is doing all, the bulk of it is 95% of it is all insurance led type of work. It's able to stand and support itself, as it were. So they're good. They're going really well. That's a 7,000 square foot facility, and we're 6 months into that, and we're already out of space. So we're rather frustrated, but there we go.
Can I ask you how your insurance work, what you do for your body shop? Is that
yeah?
Because everybody I speak to in the body shop area, they always say it's not worth it. It's a load of hassle, and they reckon the non-fault stuff's better than the actual, like the normal insurance work for like really accident damage stuff. Would you say, or how do you find it?
I mean, the non-fault stuff is is certainly better, because I think they commonly refer them to the ambulance chases, don't they? Whereby it does enable you to charge stronger rates, as it were. Right. Which and depending on how you've captured that job or those jobs, will it does essentially mean how fruitful the job can be, really. But I mean, it's you've got to be really dialed in to make it pay. We're probably doing 120 to 150 jobs now a month in that facility. There's a team of 16, I think, in there now. Wow. And it's very much it's a very process-driven operation, should we say. There's the level of compliance is very strong as well. And yeah, it's just it's a volume. You've really got to turn the volume over. There can't be any excuses. There's got to be full repair methods and obviously transparency through every single job. Lots and lots of auditing. Very demanding, because the work providers and insurance companies are. But if you can be efficient with the repairs, you can make it pay. We are doing now, So, but yeah, it's a tough one. But you can't play at it, especially these days. I've just the next big thing, I guess, for the body shop is the carbon neutral programs, which are all coming in, and a lot of the work providers, insurance companies, are going to be insisting that as a business moving forward on a carbon journey. Right. So I'll put in two brand new electric spray booths in there, and that site is not. There's no gas on site at all. There's no carbon on that site at all. We're just doing a solar project on the roof, and there's all the heating's air source, and so there's no. So yeah, we're carbon neutral on that site, and that should be hopefully pretty helpful for us moving forward.
How are they performing, the electric ovens compared to the gas?
I'm not appreciating the £3 gas bill, electric bill, sorry, every month at the moment,
Right.
but no, they're okay. I mean, obviously winter was they were struggling a little bit with the heat to get them up to temp in the winter periods, because the shop hadn't got a heating system running properly either, so there was a few teething problems. But the interesting thing really with the electric oven is that it'll bake the paint at, traditionally a gas oven, as you'll know, will be at sort of 70, 80 degrees when it's baking. The electric oven will only bake at 30. So it's the infrareds that it'll use. So you'll spray the car at 30, then you'll flick the infrareds on, and they'll bake the car at 30. So it's really, really friendly for your hybrid and your BEV vehicles as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and we're getting cars, we're turning cars. Your drying time with the new paints and stuff now, we can be into 15 minutes really, and we're done. And with a bake.
I've just been out to lunch there with our paint suppliers, Supertune, and he came up and he was telling us as well. There's a BMW, because we got talking about you do set these radars for the all that kind of stuff. Yeah, all that. And he says, who does ours? And we outsource it, but we'd look to put it in. But there's some BMW now which has the built-in radars into the bumper, and apparently you can't paint the bumpers. You can't paint over the top. You have to replace the full bumper. You saying must be like the latest car which just came out.
Yeah, I can believe it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we use our facility. We do our own ADAS calibration. We use the Bosch DAS. Is it DAS 3000? And that pretty much caters for most of our needs, and then anything else will sub it out really. But yeah, it's everything we do has got to be, you've got to make sure your equipment's calibrated. You've got the person utilising it, their name on the certificate's got to be qualified on the appropriate course and all in date. So it goes on. There's a lot, there's a lot with the insurance game, as it were. You've got to be sort of, there's no hiding places. You've got to have full transparency, and obviously accountability right the way through the job.
I think things like that, it's the unknown even for us, like car buyers. You buy a car from a motorway, in years to come, that BMW example, which I just said, your guy's going to collect it, and he says, oh, there's a bumper scuff on the front now, it needs painting. Thinking it's like 150 or 200 quid, but you have to replace the full bumper at 1,500.
Right. That's it, yeah. It's
moving with the times,
it's knowing that, it's knowing that as well. And a lot of these jobs as well, I mean, we do an estimate, and we estimate the jobs, of course, and then you're into, you have to get into the repair methods, as it were. Consult all those and read right the way through every aspect of, well, some of the Volvos, for example, you can't. You've got a dent in a Volvo plastic bumper, you can't. The Volvo will say you'll have to replace that. For the pedestrian sort of implications in the event of a collision. You might have, if you'd repaired that bumper, you could have actually made it stronger. Which then obviously has an adverse effect on pedestrian safety, in the event of, colliding with a person, so yeah, it's there's lots of stipulations in that sense. Yeah.
Would you say the body shop's the a biggest part of the business or not, or is it? Are you mainly?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the business itself is. I mean, I look at it as the sort of three really. The body shop, the service, and the sales. I guess at the moment, it's probably the most profitable area of the business. But if you'd asked me that pre-COVID, or in 6-7 years ago, it would have been the least profitable. So and it's really because it's not because there's move into this new facility. We saw that opportunity, a couple of years ago, really, with after the COVID sort of era, as it were, it just I forget what the return on the sales is now, but it's stronger than on the likes of the service department and on the sales, really. So, but yeah, it's doing all right.
Where are you based again, Stuart?
So you Autotrader, which is obviously Staffordshire. So effectively in between Stoke-on-Trent and Derby, just off the A50.
Right.
Good race
So
course.
yeah, you touched the race course. You've got
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And what about, because obviously good painters are hard to find. Do you have a problem trying to get staff for the body shop, or have you got the right lads in there now? Or
We've got so yeah. I mean, you've got to pay them properly, haven't you? Obviously. But yeah, we've got some good painters at the moment, and with us, effectively, we are Autotrader, so we're having to, import them, should we say, from the likes of Stoke-on-Trent and Derby and the surrounding sort of towns, as it were. There's the Autotrader area, 15,000, I think, living in Autotrader. So we've almost depleted that, I think, of the skill sets, really. So we do have to reach out further afield. So yeah, of course, then you've got a fact they're all wanting extra fuel money and all the rest, So you're up against those sorts of challenges as well. But yeah, we're paying strong.
how much would they demand down there, good painter?
They're going to be on. They're going to be wanting about 18 quid an hour, 18-ish, plus. And we don't pay any bonus schemes anymore. Tried that, did that off and on for years, and it's just great headache. Just I'd rather pay them decent money, and there's a time in the heart. I think a lot of time as well. Though, I mean, this is applicable really throughout everywhere in the industry. Really, you've got to just create like a nice environment as well, and it's not just about the hourly rate. You've got to give the staff something more, than just an hourly rate and off you go to work. There's so many, schemes that perhaps you should be doing and just naturally making the world a nicer place to be, and they'll hang around. And if you get that right, they won't move for 50 or a pound extra an hour, they'll stick with you. That's, and that goes obviously the right way through the business, as we know, but.
How are you doing that then? What do you think that you do a bit differently as a business to create that environment?
I mean, I've mentioned just there, there's no bonus scheme. They sometimes can cause, a bit of a rift, should we say, in the business. They can sometimes have an effect of quality, which because some people have been motivated by money, some people aren't, some people are motivated by doing the job properly. So that's one thing really. And just sort of just creating a nice, environment. I mean, just little things like, I mean, on a Friday, for example, at 4:30, 4:45. Right, we have a full clean down of the whole shop. The shop's is quite clinical, to be fair. It's nice, and the lads will say to the boys, "Oh, lads, here's a beer. If we can brush in your hand and a beer, and off you go." And they're loving it. It's little things like that. Just the one half a little bottle of something, whatever it may be, and the whole place. No one minds sweeping up when you've got a beer in your hand, do you? It's a rule. Especially when you've had a hard week at it. So little tiny things like that, nights out. Little and often sort of, evenings out, take them for a curry, bit of a reward, give them some targets, hit the targets, reward them accordingly. And just generally just making sure that that the atmosphere is good and the morale's high. And if you get that bad apple that's in the mix, you normally have to oust it. We had to unfortunately get rid of somebody last week,
If you've got no bonus scheme, it must self-police itself. I.e., someone else in the shop going, "Hey, pull your weight," and you don't have to get involved in that type of scenario.
Yeah, I mean, they just you get it. You buy the lads in really. You get them around the screen. There's all the controller screens and things. Everything's driven off the due out dates and things, and they'll all get round. And if if you've recruited the right people with the right mentality, you haven't got a battle on your hands. It should come naturally, but it can be difficult getting the right staff and finding the right staff, and then obviously retaining the right staff, But but back to the I said a minute ago about the bad apple. You've got to if you've got one, you've got to get it out. Obviously, the whole barrel rots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's good though. It's good.
What's your day-to-day like in the business then, Stuart? Obviously, with you having three sides, I suppose three bits of it. How do you spend your time? And do you like dip between all three of them, or do you concentrate on one and leave the other two to another?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it's I've got what have we got? So there's probably about 53, I think, at the moment, just on the books. To give you an idea of the team or the structure, I guess, of the business. You know, as I said before, you've got the three main departments effectively, and and underneath me directly, I've got obviously my management team, and there's obviously 5 in that. You know, so
Right.
that composes of my financial controller, my service manager, of course, body shop manager, MOT manager, because I've got a couple of other MOT sites, and you know, so it's that's effectively, you know, how I structure it really. Those guys will then have obviously their teams underneath them and the relative structure. So for me, yeah, it's just I try to. The hard bit is obviously not getting too involved in the day to day and you know, micromanaging, as it were, the managers, because you end up doing their job for them, and then
Yeah.
here we are again, you know, asking them to do something when you've just already done it yourself. So it's just keeping those guys going. You know, I'll have a weekly meeting with them on a Monday, on the clock, and then we'll have action plan meetings throughout the month. There's obviously DOCs for the targets that are up there on a daily basis, where all the managers are obviously chasing the sales and things, and so yeah, and then there's obviously the appropriate you know, you say reward schemes in place, motivations, and you know, whatever it may be, really, just to try to get those sales figures over the line, really. But yeah, yeah, difficult. The difficult bit is not getting too involved, you know, with the manager's job, you know, and you have to let go, which is hard sometimes. But
Scott doesn't find that difficult, mind.
Nah,
does he not?
love that.
No, he loves that.
It's my favourite.
You do this, do that.
Yes. Do
And he
book this. Ring
Talk about
there.
beer. He's got a beer fridge right next to him as well. He just sits in his ivory tower drinking beer, don't you?
Yeah,
Gin.
yeah. It's a nice place to be.
Yeah, got to get that finger pointing, haven't you, a bit?
Yeah, we're talking about delegation the other day, and it was well, Steve was saying, you know, I'm not saying you didn't say you struggled with it, but you do too much yourself, and
Yeah, take too much on.
I quite like to delegate, but I think it's I don't know if it's like an art or anything, but I personally I quite like it. But I think if you can't delegate and you keep too much to yourself, it's a bit of a negative, like.
Well, especially when you've got as many staff as both of you used to have. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous doing things yourself when you've got all that workforce behind you and you're paying them. It's counterproductive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Getting on to your car sales side, Stuart. So how many do you stock?
Yeah, so at the minute it's about I think we've got about 65-ish, maybe in stock, 65, 66 when I checked last. They're doing. We've had a bit of a slow start this month, but you know, it's picked up again now. You always ask the question, wonder what you're doing wrong, don't you? Sometimes at the start of the month, but no, it's just for whatever reason. Sometimes you don't know. But no, it's pulled up again now, so we're away. But yeah, so holding about there's about sort of it's 45, 50 on Autotrader, 45ish on Autotrader at the moment. Yeah, and the budget is to sell 55, but we're not quite just at that at the moment. We've recently just I've moved the profile a little bit. I think the average retail price at the moment is about 18,500. So we've ended up having, you know, lifting the sort of the bar, as it were. So I normally hold more stock than that, but I've changed the profile a little bit. I'm just testing the water a bit to see if we've been, I guess, in times gone by when we've sold the cheaper car, we've had a lot of customers returning, should we say, and comebacks and issues and complaints, and that I've been trying to get away from that really, and I've sort of told myself that we'll sell more of a a higher upper market car to try to remove, and they may sell slightly slower, and they may not, you know. But we needed to get rid of that aggravation out of the business. You know, it was quite damaging. You know, certainly because, as we said before, you know, it was our service department is the Bosch Car Service Centre. It's a retail service operation. You know, the prep centre, as it were, or the prep department now is back on site. It's a separate building, so the whole focus for us really is to try to keep that Bosch Car Service Centre selling that retail labour rate out at, which is £95 an hour. What we're retailing at now. And yeah, so and that's the focus. And when a car returns or comes back, it just, it wrecks that recovery rate. Yeah, it wrecks the recovery rate, wrecks the morale, and it was just, we needed to get away from it for the whole of the business. Yes, we're 3 departments, but, we are all one business,
What would be the cheapest car? What would you start at the cheapest price?
I mean, we'll have a go at anything. If there's something that's, that's you've maintained yourself, the history, but I mean, as a rule, we try to keep above sort of 6-7 grand really, if we could, but I do need to, as I was saying before, the volume's perhaps a bit low currently, so we do need to introduce a slightly, cheaper facility, shall we say, or retail, just to get the volume spooled a bit, But it's you've got to have a broad array, haven't you? Really, all the while.
Is there a particular stock profile you tend to go by? So X amount of hatchbacks and a bit of a mix. Have you changed that?
Yeah, we dropped a bit of a stock profile the other day. Actually, it was about something I can't off from memory. It was like 20% sort of SUV. We're trying to get 20% more of a budget brand. We're quite known for the 4x4s and the pickups. Not that we've got many in stock at the minute, so we're just looking to restock on those a bit. So they always do quite well for us. A few light commercials, few vans and things. We could have sort of 15, 10 units of those in stock as such. So again, it's just you've got to have a broad offering, haven't you? Sometimes, and the so that's what we try to go with it. Really, I keep away from stuff that's obviously within a manufacturer sort of warranty period. And try and keep it under sort of 60,000-70,000 miles if you can.
So have you noticed since you've moved, you're trying to move the business to like a higher value car, a newer car, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed the difference in the comebacks or not?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, it's dropped off, in the end, which has really, improved morale, should we say, in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's because it was quite, it's a challenge. I mean, it's not like we don't prep the cars properly, we go to town on them, we spend, they don't want for anything really, the cars, when we retail them. Our model really is to get the vehicle. We prep it fully before it goes on sale. That's the mindset, so the vehicle will get appraised on hopefully day 1, day 2, mechanical appraisal initially as it arrives on site. Providing everything's all good there, we'll obviously move into any servicing and requirements and and then necessary there's wet belts, all that headache that we're up against these days, and then obviously move on, and right way through the cosmetic stages, and then get it validated and get it on sale. So, and that's the idea. That's the conquest, to get it to be retail ready and sort of drive away same day. That's where we need to get to. Well, it's what we're doing now. So.
And have you got the car sales side to a level where you're happy with, or do you want more cars on display, more cars for sale, and more volume of sales? Or are you just quite happy at the level where it's at?
No, not happy yet. No, it's I could probably stock the the finance is available, the space is available, but I've got the facilities all in place. But for me, I like things right, and a bit of like a perfectionist, should we say. So once we start hitting those targets of how quickly we can get a car through the preps processes, and then we'll go again, because if you're not careful, you'll trip up. You know what I mean? And you need to you've got to get it all dialed in and working, and then we can just sort of layer it up a bit after that. So, but yeah, we're at the minute, and we do need more volume at the moment, and I need to get up to about 80-85, which is I can quite easily buy those tomorrow, but the business needs to be able to get stuff. There's no point in buying a load of cars and then they're all sitting in prep, whilst they're waiting to go on sale. It's all just, that is dead money, isn't it? Obviously. So, But yeah, it's managing that.
How many you got on your sales staff?
Two sales execs. Then there's the digital photography guy does a spec as well, and then there's the sales administrator and the sales manager, and that's it, really. And so yeah, we're open. We're not open Sundays anymore. So those guys are open. They have a day off in the week, and they'll do a 5-day week. Those boys, just those two sales execs, as a rule. And then any other support, we're all here to help.
When did you make the decision to not open on a Sunday, Stuart?
It was COVID, to be fair. Just after COVID. Yeah. World changed, didn't it?
We did. I was in January.
Did you? Yeah, I think I saw something. Yeah. How's that working for you?
I think it's really good. The lads like it. I think it's good for attracting new talent. I think it's the customers. We've had no negatives, and I think the Saturdays are more busy. There's more buzz around both sites on a Saturday. So it's it's good. There's no negative whatsoever. I can't see anything. I think we should have done it years ago, but you just worry in case you're going to miss any deals, I suppose.
That's the trouble, isn't it? I mean, but obviously with the advent of the tech and that now, and the ways and means of communication, they can get in touch to the business, can't they? Very quickly and easily, really. Whether it's through WhatsApp or any relative media stream. So it's all there. I don't think we miss many leads, really. Put your deposits online, all the rest. So it works.
Can I ask you which advertising platforms do you use?
Just Autotrader at the moment.
And how are you finding it? What package do you have on there? Do you have one of the better packages or standard or?
Well, we're on the super at the minute.
The super one, have you?
Yeah. We only jumped onto that about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Yet to be convinced, you would say.
Was that a trial?
It wasn't a trial, no.
You're just giving it a go.
Giving it a go I've asked for some stats actually that they have been sent through to me. So I need to just have a look at that. So the local rep is he knows it's under the spotlight at the moment. So I don't know. I might again, I work close with the sales manager on that. So it's sort of not sure yet. Jury's still out.
What convinced you to take that leap? Why did you do it? Did you think was the inquiries not coming through as many as you hoped, and you thought you needed to be on the bigger package, or?
It was along those lines. Yeah, to be fair, that was the driver. We changed the like I said to you before, we changed the profile, lifted the bar a little bit. So I thought we'd just edge into that market and see if it makes any difference. But I don't know at the moment. Jury's out on it.
We're dropping down to starter package. I put my notice in today. I was speaking to my account manager, Craig, because we're on standard, and we're going to drop down to starter. And I was chatting to him on the phone. He's great, Craig, and the support's always good and everything, but it saves us £3,000 a month. So I just thought I'll do that. But I was curious to know the difference between starter and standard. If a consumer, this was the question I asked him, if a consumer puts in 50 miles radius of Newcastle for a BMW 3 Series 320D automatic diesel, will they see my car if I'm on starter package? And he said, yeah, they will. They'll still see it. You're paying for something to go on, so you'll still see it. And I says, well, what's the difference? And he says, well, you would appear slightly lower in the search, where I think if you're on the next packages up, your cars would appear higher to the top. But then the way I look at it was, if a customer's looking for 2 months before they make that purchase on buying that car, and they're doing the homework, and then I think the way Autotrader works now, you haven't got the pages where you go on to the second page and third. I think it's more of like a scrolling thing, which they do on the. So you're just carrying on scrolling down, looking through all the cars. For me, I don't know. I know you want to be at the top of Google for certain businesses, but if you're taking your time and you're looking to buy a car, are you going to look at, I'm going to stop scrolling it once I've passed 10 cars, or are you just going to carry on? So we're going to trial it, but he says we'll drop 20% in, like advert clicks, but I suppose which I was
to click sell cars though.
Well, that's the thing as well, and like we've always said, which I harp on about the northeast is a small place. How many 3 Series BMWs under 80,000 miles, in that little area, you know, there's going to be a lower amount for us, so our consumers in our area is probably going to see the car compared to if we were based in Manchester, somewhere like that. There's going to be more
definitely.
competition in there.
But out of us four here, right? If you're searching for something online, how would you search for it? Would you search by the way that they tell you to search for it, or would you search high to low, low to high, customer rating? Do you know what I mean they're the customer rating? But they don't put customer rating on anymore. You can't search by customer rating. It is, as a consumer, it would either be low to high or high to low.
I'd be willing to bet that 90% of people will put in their criteria, what they're looking for, and then they'll sort by lowest price first.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That BMW 3 Series will be low to high, won't it? You know what you want. You're gonna know what spec you
You've got
want.
like 10 to 15,000. You put your price parameters in, and then whatever slots into there. So, but yeah, that was my question to him: was would they still see the car? And I thought, well, I don't know. They're going to see it, aren't they?
It's like, when you're looking for a house to move, you look at every house, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to stop, are you?
You're not going to stop, and you start at the lowest price house. You don't go, I'm going to look at the highest price one.
Yeah. I mean, Google, when you know what I'm saying before, you might Google something and you want to be at the top where it could be, I don't know, hotels or whatever, and on page 2, garages and so on, page 2 and 3, and you're falling off. But that's just bringing up various different businesses in the search. But if you're on a platform which gives you all the cars what you're actually looking for, like you've just said, Stephen, you're not going to. You're not going to scroll down 20 cars when there's 40 available. I'll just stop and just look at these ones at the top. You're still going to see the car, so I don't know. So we're going to trial it anyway to see what we think.
Well, I think I might be. I'm yet to be convinced as well. So, but we might be. He doesn't know yet, but we might be dropping back a bit. But yeah, for those reasons, really, Scott, as you just said. So it's an interesting one, really.
Have you got a market extension or not?
Yeah, we do that with 1 or 2, I think, sometimes. Yeah, that's available. Yeah, and I think that's really the way I'm probably going to go with it. Really, drop it right down to like a starter package or a standard package, and then just cherry pick a few cars.
Oh, your PPC in it,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And buy that, and So, but like you said, it's we could look at the reports, and you can see which ones aren't performing. And you're questioning the reasons why, but the thing is, if it only takes one person to buy the car, and it's sort of you can get a bit lost down the rabbit hole, really. Sometimes with all that data, So, but yeah, we try to work to a 60-day overage policy. Stuff admittedly does roll over a little bit. But then after that, we'll just try to, maybe re-image it, do all the standard sort of stuff really to make it the cheapest on the net and get it gone, retail your way out of it.
A quick message from our sponsors, Dealerway. Attention DealerPod listeners, do you want a better, quicker, more profitable way of trading out of your part exchanges or overage stock? List your cars on Dealerway today and connect with over 2,000 vetted trade buyers actively looking for vehicles. No hidden fees, no hassle. Start your own custom auctions from your desk or the palm of your hand in our game-changing app. Or advertise your stock on quick, easy, buy it now listings to our eager buyers who are waiting to quickly acquire vehicles. What are you waiting for? Join Dealerway today at dealerway.co.uk and streamline your disposals. Do you use any stock funding, Stuart?
Yeah, I got a bit, yeah. £500,000 with Close Brothers at the moment, so.
Has that helped you grow the business?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably only ever use half of it, really. I think it just instills a good level of discipline into the business, don't necessarily need it, really, to be fair, but it's a bit of a comfort blanket.
A comfort blanket,
yeah. And but yeah, I mean, it's, and again, like, go back to what I said before, really, Steve, it's, I wanted to I have to try to ensure that the business is ready. I could go and buy another 20 cars tomorrow, and the business, I'll break the business, I'll break the model. I'll have them all sitting around the back waiting to be prepped and things. So it's, I focus quite a lot on where the dead monies are, obviously the waiting prep, the ordered vehicles, the ones that are hanging around in the trade, and the ones that are obviously overage, those 4 areas, you've got to be on them all the time,
Do you use any software for that, Stuart?
No. So we're on, other than the management system, which is Click Dealer, we're on that.
Yeah.
So we use that. everything that we need is on there. We run our own preparation, and we hold the stock on Google Sheets as well, which is all obviously splashed across all the relative devices. They're on the screens in the shops and things, so and effectively they're running counters on obviously each car, and we effectively have like three sheets, as it were. So everything arrives on the prep sheet first, and of course the days are clicking away. The colours go, from green to amber to red, depending on the age. And then all of the tasks are obviously, listed across the top. And then, as we get through those tasks, it goes green, which changes the cells green. And then once you've, a bit like bingo, once you've got a full house, you got a full line, that car, then we lift it then and put it onto the sold sheet, as it were. And that all the sales execs know that vehicle's ready to be driven away. And then, so that's how we don't find the management system does a very good job of that, of managing that prep. And I mean, those vehicles, and so we developed our own really, and yeah, it works really well. We use it for that, and it's because it's on a Google sheet, you could just edit it, change it, add it, delete it, do what you need to do. Really, it makes it very flexible. So that's how we effectively do it. We've been using that for probably 10 years now, I think.
I've got Click Dealer as well, and we use that for our sales. And I do something similar to you as well, because, like you say, Click Dealer's not really very good at the preparation side of stuff. I don't find anyway. So we used a sort of spreadsheet on steroids. It's a bit of software called Airtable. It's relatively cheap, and it's just it is exactly what you've described. We've built like a few filters in, and it's a bit more customizable than like a Google sheet, but very similar to what you do. But I've heard really, really good things about this dealer kit, which has it all in one thing. I've spoke to the guy who promoted it and who seems really good, but I'm wanting to move over to it. But it's just it's a bit of a big job moving all your data over to another system and training all the staff on it. So it's in the to-do pile at the moment.
That's the biggest, it's the biggest challenge we've got really as an independent. I mean, obviously, Click Dealer is, well established and it's a good system, for us independents. But then we use, but it doesn't do a very good job when it comes to running the workshop. So we use another system called TechMan to run that workshop.
We actually use Click Dealer and TechMan, but the two of them didn't speak to each other. Yeah, they didn't. And then when I got my new finance director in, Peter, he just says, the systems are no good here. And he was ex-PLC, he was ex-Virtue. And he got rid of two of the limited companies. And we had conversations with, I think it was Pinnacle, or was it Heritage and some other ones. Then we ended up with Dragon. So we quite like the Dragon system. And the Dragon workshop system was very much like Click Dealer, like TechMan. We thought it was, and then when we moved over, we found there was just a few things that they didn't have available in Dragon. But to be fair to them, they quickly got their team onto it, and they had something like within the first 2 months, like 200 jobs what needed to be done, which the TechMan system was doing, but theirs wasn't, and so on. But it still has a few little limitations, Dragon, but I think we're quite all, as a team, we're used to it now. We're trying to get Europarts integrated with it. Wasn't integrated with that. It doesn't integrate with Trustpilot, where you get an automatic feed to your customers when it's invoiced off. Just some of the basic things what you think it would do, it doesn't do.
That's interesting actually, because I've been approached by the rep at Dragon as well, and because that is one of the biggest challenges really for us, for me in the business is. There's different, there's the body shop system is a system called EMAC. So effectively, three departments and three different management systems.
That's what we had. We needed one. Everything just all taught into one. Yeah.
So I mean, they all download into Sage. Obviously, is the accountancy package, but it's just
Rage is a motor trade, isn't it?
Yeah,
I would definitely take a look at that dealer kit, because it looks brilliant, and I know a lot of dealers who switched over to it who are singing its praises, so.
I will have a look, definitely.
Stuart, can I ask you as well? You mentioned that you joined. It was the family business for your late father. He set it up.
Yeah. Yes.
So did you join the business when you were 16, or did you do something else first, or how did you come to, what point were you when you joined us?
I think I joined the business when I was about 10, actually.
Right.
It was, maybe even been younger than that. I think I was writing MOT certificates out when I was 12 years old, probably on a
Right.
Sunday morning with the old man.
I hope you weren't MOTing them.
Wasn't it? Well, it was a bit tongue-in-cheek in them days, but I won't tell you
dodgy
how many
MOTs,
we used to do on a Sunday morning. But yeah, it was. But yeah, I mean, obviously, leaving. I've always naturally been sort of in the business, growing up as in the family, sort of, the family firm, as it were. Went on after school to a technical college up the road, did my BTECs, and then I went on to an HND in Loughborough, did a management course there, HND motor vehicle management, which was interesting. How much I apply it, how much I apply a lot I learnt there, I don't really know to this day, probably not a great deal. But no, always really been engaged in the business. And I suppose I was probably, not till I was probably 19 really, I was probably maybe 20, really full on in it really. So and then in essence, I suppose my background is technical, I suppose, as a mechanic by trade, which stands you in good stead for when a tech walks in the office and tries to pull the wool. You always understand it from that perspective. So that's always been a good thing. And then really just from my late 20s, running each department really. My old man used to place me, so to speak, right, you're running sales now for whatever, a couple of years or whatever it may be, do the body shop the same, and then the service department. And so you really, you're coming through the layers really. And yeah, here I am now with the management team underneath me, and not got any easier, but anyway, still good fun.
He joined the business, my son, at 60. Well, he had a part-time job when he was 50, and I forced him to come to work because he just wants to sit on his Xbox all the time. So he used to come in on a Sunday and help the sales lads out. And he wasn't really very happy about it, but I as I say, he was forced. And then when he came to leaving school, I used to say to him, "What do you want to do?" And he's like, he didn't really know what to do. And he started saying, "I want to be a YouTuber." And I says, "What the hell is one of them?" He says, "Oh, they're making millions, these YouTubers." And I says, "Making, like, about what?" And it's probably only recently after we've spoke to some guests on here where I've looked at YouTube because I never really looked at it before. So he might have had a valid point back then. He probably did.
Probably did.
But he started my advice. My advice to him was, I says, because you're the boss's son, if you like, the team and the staff and so on, they're going to naturally treat you differently. And they'll think that you're there to watch them, that you're a grass and you're this, that, and the other. And I says, your biggest battle there is going to be your likability and getting accepted amongst the team and the lads. And I says, that's the one. And he nailed it, to be fair to him. And he started using the valeting department for a while, but like you've been moved around service department in with the mechanics, and he gets on with them. And I think all the lads that all just like him and get on with him. He's like one of the boys. He's made that separation. He's a bit more like a member of the team, like as in the member of staff, rather than like the member of the family business, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which has worked out all right for him.
Yeah, that was definitely my sort of challenges really. I guess when you're sort of on the shop floor, overalls changing oil, they will accept you, that you'd sort of, that it's not you having a laugh and a giggle, you're sitting down, tea breaks, you're having that isn't where the challenge comes in when you're a young lad, mid-20s, late 20s, and you're perhaps promoted, shall we say, into running that department without, perhaps, having the experience and the years and years and layers of because that was what I was doing, I was into the mid-20s, late 20s. I was general manager, and I think the title at the time when I was 28, 29, and it's not the lads under, it's the lads above you, the older ones, the senior. That's where the challenge kicks in, because you've been gifted that job, about elements of jealousy, whatever it may be, So that's where you get your bit of a pushback, and yeah, it's but get there, don't we? In the end.
We always used to say that about franchise world is it's easier to move up and change dealership as opposed to moving up through the ranks in the place that you're actually on now, because people do see it totally different.
talking about sons, my eldest son's 13, nearly 14, and he just a couple of days ago he says that Dad, he's been washing people's cars for to make money in the holidays. And anyways, he says, Dad, me and my friend Ollie, can we come to work and wash all the cars on the pitch for you? I was like, oh, definitely, son, yeah, 100%. He says, right, how much you going to pay with? I'm thinking, right, there's two of them. I says, well, come in. I says, I'll give you £30 a day each. Bro, I'm not coming to work for that. 30. And I was like, hey, 30 quid each. He says, well, go away, man. I says, well, all right then. I says, if I pay a bit more, are you going to come in all day from 9 till 6? He went, 9 till 6? Oh, no. So anyways, he said, no, I'm not doing that. So he texted us about an hour later and he says, right, Dad. He says, I'm coming in. I says, oh, champion. He says, but Ollie's not. I says, right. He says, so I'll have the 60 quid. I went, no. I says, no, that's not how it works. He says, well, what do you mean? I says, well, because then there's 2 years get double the work done. Yeah. I says, you're not going to be able to clean all the cars on the pitch in one day. He says, oh, that's no good. Well, I'll tell you what, then I'll come in 2 days. I was like, yeah, but you'll still only get £30 a day. You'll not get 120 the 2 days. Oh, no, it doesn't matter then, Dad. Away he went.
I think you need to get him in the buying section of the business, the negotiating section of the business.
Yeah, definitely. But, he's a chip off the old block, like. You obviously, from when you did sort of come into business at 20-year-old and then obviously went on to take over, how many staff are still there from when you sort of joined?
Oh, yeah, there's the old relics, as it were, that are still with us, so it's, yeah, I mean, we're obviously a family business still, I always have been, but we try to, we're trying to run it as to mimic, as it were, perhaps how a corporate sort of small corporate business would operate, but we've still got those old-fashioned values, and the people, have retained. We've got a really low turnover of staff, and some of the boys have been with us, 40 years. Some of the lads as I can think of, 30, 40 years. It's not uncommon, for the boys to be with us for a long time. Did a thing, what's the name? Went through my old Facebook. I'm flicking through the other night, and there was over 8 or nearly 900 hours, or a year, sorry, that we went round all the staff and asked them, how many years have you been in the motor trade? And I think it got to about 900 or something. Not necessarily in our business, but it sort of cements really, how much experience that we've got between us as a business and a team, it's quite interesting, so, but no, very low turnover of staff, and we look after them, pay them properly, look after them. We're nowhere with that staff, are we?
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
So, and just to maintain that, that consistency and the trust, it just makes what's a hard job a lot easier,
With all that experience that you've got yourself, Stuart, then what do you reckon the most significant trends and disruptions that you see, like in the industry today, or maybe it's on the horizon? Do you think there's anything coming that's going to change, or
you mean on the
I'm just thinking, like technology-wise, I suppose, really, isn't it? So that's where what seems to be the driver.
Tech's the biggest challenge, I think, isn't it, for us as an independent? We're up against that big time, really, with whether it's in the service department or even in the sales, really. Those doorways, those gateways, as they're called, are up. They're just forever getting harder to get through, aren't you? In the world of in the world of software, the tech's trying to access and program the relative, modules and whatever it might be, and the block exemption thing is sort of depleting a bit. But I think with obviously the tech, with the manufacturers making the vehicles more and more complicated, it's going to be very hard, I think, in the future for the independents really to sort of, keep offering that, that consumer, as it were, that alternative really. So that will be, that's one of our biggest challenges at the moment, certainly, and is the tech, and trying to fix the cars, and it's not uncommon for us to do a 50-mile, 100-mile road test in a customer's car, putting fuel in it just to see if that intermittent pops back, it's mad. All of our cars that we on sale, we do the pre-check, they do the initial plug-in, we'll fault code, download all the codes, and then we'll obviously screenshot those, clear them down, go through it. The techs will do part of the the appraisal will do a 10-mile road test, and then plug them back in, and see what, if anything, returns. Never mind if management lights come on or not. We'll still investigate that code, because they're just there to haunt you, aren't you, all the while,
We have instances where we do similar like you road test every vehicle when we're PDI in it, and I think we actually go 30 miles in each car. So, and there's been instances where, like the lad that does it, Michael, for me, he'll actually, if he's going somewhere on the night time, he'll take the car home, and he might end up doing 100 miles in a certain car for whatever reason. And we've had instances where he's done that, and then everything's fine, car's mint, and you guarantee the second that car drives off the phone, off the forecourt, you get a phone call, oh, the lights come on. You're like, you're joking, how we not found that? It's harder.
We found with auction cars sometimes that obviously the dealers will knock the lights out naturally because if they've got a car and it's got engine management lights on and so on, they're gonna delete the light, clear the codes, send the car to the auction on the transporter, so it's done no miles. Then we buy it from the auction, comes on the transporter to us, still done no miles. Then we'll put it through a prep. Our mechanic drives it, takes it on the road test, MOTs it, services it. Car might have done say 15 or 20 miles. Do a diag check. No codes, sell it to the customer. Customer takes it out, goes around the corner, does 10 miles, and ping, the light comes on. Yeah. So we're the bad ones, like we haven't prepped the car properly, but we haven't. We didn't realise that the dealer had switched it off before. So we get caught out like that, which that's sometimes annoying. And then also the auctions. I mean, as we know, I've got friends who go around the auctions and switch all the unplug, knock all the lights off of all the cars that are about to go through the auction. So. But that's just the motor trade, isn't it? The vendor's not bad. He's done nothing wrong. If I put a car in, you're going to clear the lights, aren't you? And if you're running an auction, you want to try and get as much as you can for the vendor and knock all the lights out. So I think it's just the industry. It's something you've just got to put up with.
Definitely right. And I think sometimes as well, what I've tried to recognise a little bit is who is that vendor of that vehicle, and if it's a for example, if you're buying off Arval or Motability, that effectively that vehicle's come to the end of its contract, so that's the reason why it's in that sale, or to become obviously available for purchase, and sometimes those streams, we've been buying a bit from Arval and Motability of recent times, and you're going to pay stronger money for them. We know that, we do. But there's the reasons, as you just said there, Scott, is for me changing the sort of the profile a bit recently. It's because I was happy to sort of perhaps try and accept a bit less headache coming back through the business, and yes, I'm going to struggle on the GP on the on the unit, the margin will be under attack, but if I can sell a vehicle and it's probably maybe more popular, going to cause less headache for the business, then there's got to be some value there as well, And it's sort of it's reading between the lines in that sense, because you get one out of BCA, for example, that perhaps should be on cinch, and you're asking the question why, and then that code pops up, and there's your reason. It's been hawked around the dealers, or they know, you know what I mean. So it's just sort of, so that's a little bit of a mindset I've been trying to go down in recent times. Whether it's going to get down to the bottom line or not, I don't really know, but we'll see.
As a friend of mine, he's a mechanic at a main dealer, and they do Motability. And if, say, they had a Qashqai, which is their car, and it's got a knackered gearbox, and it's out of manufacturer warranty, and they've got a Motability car, which is coming to the end, which is going to go to the auction, they'll swap the gearbox from the Motability car into their Qashqai, which fixes their car, and then they send the Motability car, which is only done 15,000 mile or whatever, into the Motability auction, of which somebody like me would buy it, realise the gearbox is knackered because it's not covered under the normal grading. Then you ring the dealer, the main dealer, because it's still under manufacturer warranty, and the manufacturer then pays for the repair of the gearbox. So the dealer, what they've done is they've obviously fixed their car for free, and then they still get the business when the original car comes back round because the dealer gets it done under the manufacturer warranty.
That's interesting, yeah.
This motor trade is just full of crooks.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
It is, aye.
It is, isn't it? It's just the way it is, though. I mean, if we had a main dealer site and we did Motability cars and we had a knackered gearbox, would we do that? Probably.
Probably.
I know it's a bit dishonest, but, it's
you're saying it's full of crooks, it's for them on, yeah.
I'm from a franchise background, so I'm saying no.
Yeah. Wow.
I know one franchise. The parts man, he's on bonus. Who does the parts, and the mechanics are on bonus on how quick they can actually do the service on the car. Those two work together, so they'll not put the air filters in and certain things when they're doing the service because it takes too long. But the mechanic cops for the time, so his efficiency's better. The parts man's happy because all the parts are going through, and then I think the parts go on eBay. They go in the toolbox and then they go on eBay.
Really, yeah.
And they punt out. The public thinks, oh, my car's just beating the main dealer for any service.
Stuart, moving on a little bit, how do you define success in business?
I think a little bit like we said before, really. You've got to surround yourself with decent people. I think that's for me, this is one of the most important things. You've got to sometimes be a little bit ruthless sometimes to get there. You've got to upset one or two people, obviously internally, but at the end of the day, you've got to protect yourself. You've got to protect the business. You've got your goals, your aspirations, and drive, and they're the bits that you can't have some of the negatives sort of coming in sideways and sending you off on a bit of a tangent. You've got to keep focused on going forward the way you want to get to. Set your own challenges and goals, and don't let anyone sort of get in your way, really. And if they do, you've got to deal with them, and get the negativity away. Surround yourself with, decent, strong, positive people. Makes your life, makes my life easier, and it can be hard sometimes. It can be difficult conversations, but inevitably you've got, we're a family business, and I've got, 3 little boys at home that are hungry and want to grow. You know what I mean? There's stuff like that. You got to take inspiration from that, haven't you? So that's what I try to do, really, and just hopefully, those 4 guys sitting in now, you'll have the natural drive anyway to be where you are anyway. So you've been gifted with that. So use that, harness it, and roll your sleeves up and crack on.
Great stuff. Stuart, I really appreciate you coming on, mate. It's been a joy to have. Really appreciate your time,
All right, lovely.
Thanks for coming on.
No problem at all, boys. Thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
See you next time.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers now. Thank you.
Cheers, bye.
Ta-da, bye-bye. Bye.